Jimmy Gwitch, hi, hi, lean lit. Way-la-lin, 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 Jimmy Gwitch, hi, hi, lean lit.
I got hallelujah watermelons, virginal pears, virtuous corn.
Munich haik altera vincit.
Luscious fat-ass watermelons, plum pears, and big butt corn.
Le gusta este jardín.
Come and get it, cucumbers, hot to trot, lust fresh cucumbers.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
Watermelons! Go to church and get redeemed, watermelons!
Un bacio ancora.
Good God, cucumbers, righteous pears, golden Baptist corn.
Leben wer alle nicht, die Sinneslust.
I got sluttish watermelons, sinful cucumbers, and jailbait pears.
Planted by Big Mouth Chaucer.
And picked by Sugar Shakespeare.
Future City. Thomas Smith, 18th century surveyor. He loved the light. It made the darkness glow. On those nights when he scrambled down the embankment to the birch canoe, summer moon high above, its face swimming in the river below, the paddle in the darkness, breaking the silence, the burning fires along the shore, the noise of day, raging in his head among rigid visions of roads and buildings and merchants and farmers. In that moment, returning to the South Shore, he dreamt of home. The river Wye, its torrent through the valley in early spring, his mind swarming back then with drawings of old streets, imagining the noise of the day, of people with purpose. But now here, along this river, there was only his canoe in the swift current of darkness that took him back. Only a compass, a set of plotting instruments, and the stiff rolled up drawings and a leather portfolio and its secrets emerging in the inked geometry of avenues not yet known. He loved the night. He loved the light that made the darkness glow.
Deerfoot. Crowfoot's nephew, Appy Gais, scabby dried meat from Gleason, well over 6 feet, lanky and lean, as thin as a crane, nothing but disdain for the uniform and fence. On offense, your cattle, your horses, your rations, yes, and a large advance sum, because I will beat the visitors. I can run. Legend says he would seek revenge for injustices. Spirit oversee mechanical carnage, the fastest man of his day, reveling in endless delay. A crooked syndicate changed scabby dried meat to Deerfoot for the professional racing circuit. He tied the record mile, beat champions from abroad, Stokes from Birmingham, Irvine from Ottawa, big wins written up in the New York Sporting News. He stole blankets from a homestead and was refused a pass off reserve by the Indian agent. Judges bribed, races fixed. Deerfoot, disillusioned, quits. Fighting, drunkenness, theft, The Blackfoot left with nothing to do, no reason, no food. And Deerfoot, still a hero, is mean. Friends and wives fear for their lives. 2 years a fugitive for his continuing crimes. The one-time great runner is tackled by a constable after 9 miles. The sentence is light. Repentance is welding an axe in a settler's house. Deerfoot contracts tuberculosis in custody and dies at 33. Without consultation with relations, buried in an unmarked plot on the barracks grounds downtown, and in 74 honored the renowned foot racer with a raging 6-lane prairie displacer. Again, no prior discussion at all against Blackfoot protocol. The angry spirit of the runner will prevail and curse the souls that stall and crawl and rattle and roll and cascade out of control down Deerfoot Trail. Legend says he would seek revenge for injustices. Spirit oversee mechanical carnage. The fastest man of his day, reveling in endless delay.
English Bay. Again, we found ourselves at the shoreline, among shards of shell and plastic, scrim of seaweed trapping my feet like a net, red freighters in the gray-only mist of the islands, the seashell gleam of sun on water, herringbone sky. I was thinking of a movie where a man was drowning. In the middle of the ocean, huge swells soaring all around him like dunes in a desert, and how I'd once said, that's what it feels like. Grief. Years ago, before anyone had even died. Who knew how wide the ocean would get, how high those waves would climb? Then I went into the water, into that marine world of kelp and plankton. The green that bathed my legs had traveled for miles to reach this bay. A noose of cloud hung on the gold horizon, spores, sand in the gritty air. No one I loved was there.
Diaspora drift. The spore and diaspora drifts, Pacific Ocean bridge, Aleutian jetsam jargon tongued, a China in the heart. That new strange grammar home, dispersed as homes, this dizzy mimesis of the local Golden Gate, entrance and exit, same. Hinges sprung to the lock of your immigration cell echo in between the din of jargon tongue. You, mucka hi, flung you.
When I first immigrated to Vancouver, some local Chinese, they took me to see Chinatown. I thought, this is not China. This does not represent Chinese culture. Jin Zhong.
Who he coming through the door, all dressed up in master's clothes? Suit and tie, all smiles? Who is this Charlie? Where's he from? Where's he going? Caught. Between two bowls of juke, bored with floating coast to coast, but bound and busy working in between the Pleistocene.
I didn't think I'd ever get enough money to go back, but I got lucky at the racetrack at Hastings Park and bought a ticket on a steamer going to the Philippines. And from there, I could get another boat to Hong Kong. Jimmy G.
Charlie is a China. These are the papers and the money on the table singing Charlie Chim Chong say Wang Liang Chang. The door has swung, the table has turned. They make the fridges, stoves, the clothes. Out of the pod the eye has drifted, become the tiger burning bright. Is this the master's mirror? The door that gleams but doesn't wobble, the neurons shifted in reverse?
I tried to get to Canada for 4 years later, and it was hard. They raised the head tax to $500. I had to leave without my wife and children before they raised the tax even higher. I told them I was just going to the Philippines, and I would earn some money and send it home. They didn't know I went to Canada. I couldn't bring them over, so I ended up marrying a white woman. the cashier in the cafe. Quan Wa.
Confucians say reflection is the noblest, but imitation is the easiest. Now the slippery glass of payback flips. The menu drips and drifts. The geopolitics of coolie loot worth all those rented muscle years.
Living in Shanghai in a small apartment with my parents, I can never afford to get married. So I'm into mountain bikes. I went to Sedona, Arizona on an extreme tour with my bike friends last year. This year, we're going to Australia. What about Canada? Where should we go? Young.
Our dreams been coded. The track's been laid, the CPR a shuddered reflex of dementia.
We all want that rice, and all the ginger too.
The future is nostalgia, another cutting edge of the vanishing present.
These are the gates.
And you can either kick them open,
Or walk through in silence. Linen and wool. Lino y lana. I have retted the linen, a lino, and carded the wool, la lana, of two voices, dos voces. And my hands are rich and smooth, mis manos, with the lanolin of my work, mi trabajo, anointed by the silkening oil of the seed of the field. And from these I have fashioned a garment of sky, un vestido celestial, for the mind and the soul, la mente, el alma, imaginary blue, azul imaginario, haunted by the absent dazzle, ausente, of stars in the dark, estrellas. And next to my skin, I fasten a shirt of earth, cerca di mi piel, where the heart, una camisa di tierra, falls in green, el corazón, through green, verde, like the crimson drop a través del verde, of a peach hooked high, una gota carmesí, in the sun, let loose from the pool, se desploma, of a ripening stem, decaye, and it plunges and subsides, plunges and subsides, like the softened gone still suavidad of a fruit on a bruise. It releases its color from form like fading, la lluvia of rain on damp loam, this gloaming inclusion of gray, crepuscular, this wearing away, la luz discreta of the tattering light, this dew, rocío, on a unwinding a glistening thought. Desdoblando sueño, la tierra reseca. Old memories dream in a dry land. Agua. When the water's the past, in a well, said, one thirst will empty the cup, said, another's a cup we must fill. Who's the owner of the language of this land? Who loves it more? Who writes it better?
The man dying. On this highway at this hour, in this summer of the year, he thought of the man dying in the room with picture windows, with nothing to see, while he in an instant looked across the green and yellow fields, the rolling hills, a harvest of clouds clustering on the horizon, the car traveling over the ends of the earth. The man in his room with one tree, one lawn, one slice of sky, the stone wall, the wing of the oncology ward, car traveling like life itself on the road to the cabin, where the dead hover in the aspens, in the tongues of fire in the misty corners, the lick of the lake, on the shore that cannot defend itself for a single hour.
She walks with a certain pride. Moving slowly along the highway, each step a labor, and leaning heavily on a gnarled willow stick, she walks with a certain pride. Her wispy hair flowing out from under a fox-trimmed hood that frames her sun-dark face in a tedious tailwind of traffic rushing infinitely. Her teak-brown gaze unwavering and destination fixed betrays no air of expectation, only the steady dark prints of moose-hide moccasins and the rounded tracks of her pack-laden husky trail out behind her. Panting, the two plow unbroken drifts, their trail growing distant in the lengthening of shadows. Her old eyes bright in bitter winds that whisper of a day when ravens stole away the sun, of drum songs, dancing, and of legends passed down by elders weaving baskets over pine-scented campfires. As a cool December moon outlines her smallness, she pauses to tug at the husky's harness, sighing frostily, and trudges on, the steady thrust of her willow stick piercing the snow like the rhythm of an ancient drumbeat. She begins to chant a tuneless song of burning sweetgrass, sinew-threaded moccasins, and great warriors gone back to the earth like old totems, returned as she, the circle of her life complete, will.
Nuisance.
Nuisance.
Jabbering, double-crossing, double-talk.
Double talk.
Pale-ass poet-tasters void my blues caucus
Blues
ruckus lyrics.
caucus.
Too negroed and rowdy.
Rowdy! While sable sassy poets preach, I ink too
I
blankly. Come le blanc, my bleached out verse, bleeding
Bleached
too
out.
whitey-like, worse than their
Whitey-like.
ears.
What can I say?
All this blather about black and white verse is blackmail and white noise.
Cripes! English, fallacious, be finished here. I'd rather stutter a bastard's language, only spoken in gutters, a broken, vulgar Creole screech, loud and brawling, slurring.
Balderdash, cussing and caterwauling, a corrupt palaver that bankrupts all meeching speech. Because it be literal, guttural poetry.
i.e., hubbub.
Come clear of cloud. Come clear of cloud. Come clear of cloud. Come clear of cloud now. Come clear of cloud.
Poem for Peace in Many Voices. Calm, come clear of cloud. Early one morning, before things started, calm came at noon, a cardinal perched on black bough in blazing sun. Calm came at night, stretching as cats do, constant stretch and change. Forsythia brightened as the house slept. Now, calm come in the face of brawl.
Edmonton in winter. This Pehonan. Outside, country people will never throw snow in your face. They know the distance between you and the fire might prove fatal. It is only when the fire's close and proven that we dare to laugh and douse our skin. Inside, this Pehonan. And we savages who fled to the south, following the arc of the sun, nomad economies dictating shape of a doable size. There were no cities here before oil. You could call that proof of lack of civilization. But I say, these days the beckoning sun can't even clear the grasp of 30-year-old trees, and the economies of wealth mean only the wealthy can follow the sun. The rest remain. In Pehonan, did they leave so many behind in the dark? Missionary stories tell of leaving the old, the halt, the lame to die. Out in the ice, the snow, clean, hard wind. Here, we, the many, tough it out. Cloaked in houses, burning the future, wait for the sun to return.
My Sahara. In midwinter, one January morning where I can't find my way to the end of our driveway, and the college where I teach is closed for a snow day because more than 12 centimeters have fallen in the night. As I watched out the hall and the storm blew horizontally into raw lines of a poem I wanted to write, or sand in a choking dust storm I read about, where the silicon grains strip the fur from a grown camel and the sky turns yellow. The sky here turns gray-yellow just before a blizzard. I ask myself if I wasn't living in a desert of snow, and remembered the beautiful absurdity of men walking off into the whiteout to lie down quietly and die and claim the honor and dignity of self-destruction. And thinking this is how explorers find what they know is already there. But a desert of snow is not the worst of it. Timbuktu lies across the Sahara, the largest desert in the world, covering a third of an impenetrable continent, an accumulation of sand and mountains as vast as China. And to cross it is to shovel one's way there, bent beneath its weight, one scoop at a time until, sweat, salty, exhausted, one can go no further, and the body burns inside itself, lactic acid seizing every sinew. And I remember Hugh Clapperton took that route to the fabled city of Timbuktu, racing Lang, harangued by Denham, chastised by wind and blowing sand, and a landscape that refused to understand his thick Scottish brogue. And his hands fumbling with his shovel because he lost a thumb while crossing Georgian Bay in a snowstorm like the one that fell last night. And I notice my daughter has cut footprints across the lawn to catch her school bus, and back again when the bus vanished, and think, that is what a map is. Footprints across a fresh landscape that the wind has calmed in the night. A map is a prayer. Where Kingston is. Because homes sometimes vanish and turn foreign, I want to over-explain, quand on me demande, where Kingston is exactly. And when I travel to Boston, to Dublin, to Tennessee or Maine, where people really just want to know how far we are from Toronto or the American border, what can I tell them besides, not far enough? And our city does not placidly orbit some other. Because we have civic quirks, our own local notions, our Block D disputes, and tragically hip ways. The Ciudad de Inca, a sculpture called Pollution.
The Gertrudes.
The Swamp Ward.
And Abingdon Road.
We are much more than limestone.
The Pen.
And John A.
We are Wallstonite.
Cork.
And Flora MacDonald.
Nan Yeomans.
Shane Dark.
And André Bielet.
Dollar Bill.
And Air Commodore Leonard J. Burchell. We're a memorial Celtic cross for Anne Gorta Moore.
A double rainbow blazoned over Cathcart Redoubt.
The Kick and Push Line, the Wolf Island Ice Road.
Last resting place of Dagan Wadanti, Molly Brant.
The long prospect of wind turbines from McAdoo's Hill.
Brass door knockers.
And 19th century sewers.
The Goat.
The Pig.
The Toucan.
And the Iron Duke.
White Swans near Grog Island.
And the Martello Towers. We exceed the staid boundaries of latitude and longitude, sidestep the crosshairs of the average geography, large and somehow bigger than the sum of gathered lives.
Lakeward, littoral, liminal,
Lustral and enduring.
We are where Kingston is. Exactly.
New territory. I follow you down this trail, cathedral grove of Douglas firs on each side. Down here, old man's beard hangs from naked underbranches. Fern fronds brush my shoulders. Lacy patches of rare sun reach damp mosses. I am full of awe. And then I hear myself hum that silly song. Suddenly, I know I want to follow you forever. You've crossed a continent to claim me. I follow you back east to your island, to your woodlot's bubbling spring, red clay road, overarched by branches, your secret beach, near hidden dune bowls full of ripe cranberries. Your motorcycle freedom almost leaves me a widow. Leaves you unconscious, 5 days in intensive care. I say to my parents, thank heavens we have no children. few years later, I thank heaven's sweet dew. Our sons grow up and they leave home. Alone again, we hear stream ripples and poplar leaf chatter behind our weathered farmhouse. We follow the fiddleheads, pick only half of them before they become ferns. Spring's tonic. I've learned to cut my own trails with your pruning saw that slices so smooth. Woman of the woods. I find new territory while traveling life with you for nearly 40 years. Ocean song from not far away hums in our ears.
Love and protection. Love and protection looks like.
Love looks like.
War looks like.
Protection looks like.
Respect looks like.
Love looks like.
Resistance.
Looks like.
Trouble looks.
Like lessons.
Looks like.
Answers.
Looks like.
Vigilance.
Acceptance, independence, dangling faith on the end of a stick.
Shining white in the face of the enemy. Starting over and over and over and over.
Walking in trust, blind trust through ego-less paths, recycled concepts revisited.
Carpets of golden knowing awakened, sacrificial, gravitational beings wearing
Weighty, hefty identities, cultural knowledge.
Song slingers sounding out sturgeons swimming.
together, gathering, working towards what end?
Heaven is a place, an individual happening, not
Writing but remembering, total inspiration dancing.
Circles! Respect and knowing looks.
like knowing respect looks.
Like speaking looks like.
Sharing looks like challenging.
Looks.
Like sober looks.
Like shaping and naming looks.
Like separate looks.
Like application and practice.
Looks like
failing looks.
Like the moon falling.
looks.
Like them.
Looks like us.
Looks like
60 extra pounds.
Looks like bells born.
in the ground looks.
Like men.
Looks
Like overlapping.
Happening.
conjured up contrasting. Corruptions keeping vigilance.
Through reproduced ceremony, only to understand fractions and then pass on.
Notions of the original but practiced with authentic faith. Facts tucked between.
Pages and sold to no one in particular.
No one who knows what to do with it.
No one goes to extremes anymore.
No body is the best identity. Anonymous artist.
No thing separate. Always.
With us. Shining constantly, shining the light.
Dissect the sacred till nothing.
No thing can live above the sun.
Below.
There's a billion blazing taxis raising a roar.
Down in the depth on the 90th floor.
Stealth and presence
Stealth and
like
presence
stealth
looks.
Stealth
and
and
presence.
presence
Like
looks.
stealth
Looks
and
like
presence.
presence.
Like stealth and
Looks
presence.
Look
like
presence.
presence.
Looks like
Look
presence.
presence.
Look
Like
presence.
presence.
like
Like
secret
presence.
presence.
Look
Like
looks
secret presence.
like secret
looks
presence.
Looks secret.
Present.
Looks
Secret look.
present.
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 Present. All my relations. Waylalin, Jimmy Gwitch, hi hi, Lim Lint. 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 Waylalin, Jimmy Gwitch, hi hi, Lim Lint.